started climbing. 149 million in 2010, 156 million in 2011, 189 million in 2012 for a $33 million increase. And now I'm very proud to report an increase yet again in 2013 to a record 1,005 contracts, leases gold, and $225,947,437 in closed sales volume. Congratulations, you guys. Nice year. From our first year in '73, with a sales volume of 883,000 to 226 million in 40 years, it's quite a ride. Just like most of you did last month, Crown's first annual meeting was a goal-setting event. Obviously, there was just the three of us. Dad was already talking about the goals when I came into the meeting, and I was talking to Mom on Wednesday. Interesting about Mom. She doesn't remember hardly anything from 40 minutes ago, but she remembers everything from 40 years ago. It's really eerie. She remembers how competitive Dad and I were in those first 2 years when we had one office in Peoria. He beat me that first partial year in '73 after I graduated from college, but I was determined never to let that happen again. He wanted to set our 1974 volume at $1 million. That didn't sound like much to me. However, he had some reasoning. We were in the middle of recession. '73, '74 was Crown's first recession. We've had 4 since then. I told Dad, I asked him if he was retiring, because I was going to do $1 million all by myself. Oops. He was a Marine. Never show up a Marine. Big mistake. He said, all right, are you a Marine? I'm not going to show you up. Anyway, he said, you smart, blank college boy, let's just make it $2 million then. So off we went. Dad never beat me again after that first year. I do regret that. The frustration he must have experienced could probably only be appreciated by Doug Bowe's own personal impotence in that regard. A few weeks ago, as I was desperately looking for a contract I'd written just 2 weeks before, I decided it was time to clean house. My messy desk lost a contract. That's pitiful. It was $1,620,000. That's a messy desk. I was also thinking that if I cleaned mine up, maybe Patty Simpson would If wishes were horses, beggars would ride. Didn't happen. But fascinating enough, when I talked to Patty about it, she had the answer. Patty's got all the answers. Boost your salary with a messy desk. And she showed where 240 different companies were surveyed, and the most productive workers had messy desks, to the point where they had 36% more production than somebody with a clean desk. Oops. At Patty's volume in 2013, that's $4 million, guys. She does some volume. So I said, to hell with it, I'm just throwing my trash on Patty's desk. Anyway, I found my 1974 goal sheet, cleaning up my desk. It's so yellow, Deanna saved it before it crumbled. That's 74. I've been setting goals since '74, and I can't think of anything else that can make you more money than have a goal to shoot for. And if you haven't set them this year, you're going to hear about it today. In fact, we're going to try to give you enough things that ought to make you 4 or 5 extra listings this year if you do what we tell you to do. Anyway, I've written both short-term goals and long-term goals. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
I already told you about the volume, $1 million in 1974. I had an income goal of $15 grand. Now, that doesn't sound a lot to you now, but back in '74, school teachers were making $6 grand a year, $500 a month for a school teacher. Attorneys, $5,300. Attorneys were lucky to make $10 grand. So this was a big-time college, a big-time goal for a college kid. I had some other goals. I wanted to get 50 listings that year. That was my first full year in the business. I wanted 50 listings, almost in a week. And while I was driving around the countryside, I was worried about that El Camino of mine not getting enough mileage, so I wanted to buy a Volkswagen Rabbit. Because it got 40 miles per gallon, and at 27 cents a gallon, I was really sweating. I wanted to buy another farm. Many of you know the story. I bought a farm when I was a senior in college with a mortgage on that El Camino. So I figured, well, shoot, I can just buy one and figure out how to pay for it later. I also had read one book a week, play racquetball 3 times a week. I don't know about this one. I wanted to learn to dance. Short-term goal. Long-term goal. I had a career volume way back in 1974 of 50 million, and I wanted to reach it by the time I was 50. I was already 22. I wanted to buy the McCluskey Ranch. What? That's the 3,000-acre ranch on the south side of Miami County. Many of you remember the story about Billy McCluskey. My first week on the job, driving down Somerset Road, just south of Randy Cornelius' farm. Welcome, Randy, by the way. One of our new associates coming up. Where are you, Randy? There you are, pal. And by the way, we got Mike Moore in here, too, also a brand new, not yet licensed, but close. So 2 guys coming. Thanks for coming, you guys. Anyway, I met Billy McCluskey in a Cadillac on the south side of Miami County on Somerset Road, drunk as a skunk in that white Cadillac. I sat there and talked to him for an hour, and he was one of the most motivational guys I ever met in my life, a Cherokee Indian chief. I figured that if a drunken Indian could buy that farm, so did I. It was a long-term goal. I wanted to become a pilot and own a plane. I wanted to be a millionaire by 30. I wanted to read a book per week still. And, unbelievably, still on that list, is I wanted to learn to dance. Well, I'm 62 now, and I didn't retire, although many of you continually accuse me of that. I almost retired at 50, though. It was 2001, and the World Trade Center buildings had just collapsed from that terrorist attack. Now, 30 days after Katie, Nick, and I had toured those beautiful buildings, 2 days after that event was a day I'll never forget. We listed the 10,000-acre, 20-home property that was owned by Dale Dunmeyer. And we were lucky enough to sell it within 30 days, earning Crown Realty an $838,000 commission. That transaction is still the largest residential transaction ever in the KC metro area. That's Crown's bragging right. By the way, Crown also has the 2nd largest and the 5th largest residential transactions ever in the KC metro area. Now, if that doesn't help you in a talking point, if anybody ever accuses you of being a country realtor, remind them that we sold the three out of the 5 most high-volume residential transactions ever since they've been recording it in Kansas City. Anyway, that was fun. And I decided that real estate was way too much fun to retire. And now, after $415 million in personal sales, with my best friends and my kids in the real estate business with me, why bother? We have cell phones, computers, and the best support staff in the state. It's easy now. I sold the Getterman farm from my Wyoming ranch last summer, and it was just simple. I mean, thank heavens for our support staff. How many of you love the real estate business? I hope I can convey you how much fun it's been to have this kind of a career. If you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. And when you do something, when you love something, you can give 100% to it. And if you want to be simply have to expect to be the best. Have a dream. Have a purpose. What pushes you? What drives you? I have read your goals, by the way, and thank you very much for writing them down. If they're met, I told them up. If they're met, Crown will do $250 million in 2014. So thank you very much. Some of you haven't written them down yet. Some of you might want to tweak your goals. After all, you've got to have a written goal because there's no way you can hit a target you can't see. Have you put a picture or a description of your goal, by the way, someplace where you can read it? I had a Piper Cherokee airplane on my desk for 4 years till I got one. It reminded me every day of one of my goals. Sure, there'll be some stumbling blocks along the way. We all go through bad stuff. You'll have bad days, bad weeks, bad months, a bad year or two. Just don't miss the adventure of today and tomorrow, looking back on the past with regret. Place the bet on yourself. I love the story Tony Robbins always tells about the young man many years ago who wanted to be a musician. So he quit school, floundering around playing the piano in seedy bars with customers so drunk they didn't even know there was a piano in the room, let alone somebody playing it. He wasn't making any money. Nobody was dropping tips in the jar. So he slept in laundromats. He became frustrated, depressed. His girlfriend left him. Decided to commit suicide. So he drank a bottle of furniture polish he found in the laundromat. Not the best way to commit suicide. It didn't work. It made him sick. So he decided to put a bullet in his head. He found a gun in the back alley of one of these laundromats. You got a pretty good idea what kind of neighborhood it was in. Before he did shoot himself, however, he was lucky enough to find a good Samaritan. The Samaritan checked him into a mental hospital where he spent months there. It took several months, but he finally decided that no disappointment was worth committing suicide over, and that life was worth living. He kept at his dream. He persevered. He began to believe in himself. Today, he and his music are known all over the world, for he is the piano man, Billy Joel. He rose to the ashes like a phoenix. He did not waste his second chance, and he became committed. Become 100% committed to the real estate business, or choose another career you can devote your talents to. Review your short-term goals. Write some long-term goals. How many of you have the long-term goals? Hold yourself accountable to them. Because at the end of the year, you will either have the numbers like the award winners here today, or you'll have a story. Oh my God, look at wow. I just looked. I thought the little girl was coming from that. The numbers are a story. You'll have to decide which will you have. Forget the story. Every night before you go to bed, structure your ideal day for tomorrow. Plan your work and work your plan. And if you're going to work, work. If you're going to play, play. By April of '79, Dad passed away. And I was desperate for help in the payroll office. So desperate, I hired a couple of farmers in western Miami County. Many of you will remember. B.J. DeGrand and Ben Thetford. They went through class together and listened to me preach about making 10 calls a day. You've all heard it. Now, B.J. was a natural. He'd drive the country road, stop at every farm, and he'd list farm after farm. And he was a top Crown associate for 2 decades. Ben, however, had a problem. He struggled. He couldn't drum up the courage to even knock on a door, and he was absolutely horrible on the phone. He'd stammer and stutter and forget his own name. Not a good recipe for getting a listing. He hated the way BJ was whipping. They got in business the same way. BJ was doing 2-3 million back then, which was a lot of volume. So one day, Ben came up with a great idea. He'd take a part-time job as a Walmart greeter. That way, he talked to a lot of people a day. That 10 calls turned into 500 contacts a day. But besides his stammering and stuttering, Ben had one other problem. He'd been bullied as a boy, and he could not stand to be around anybody who was mean, negative, and nasty. His third day on the job, one such a grumpy woman from Fontana came in, who will hereforth remain unnamed. She walked into Walmart with her 2 sons. She was fussing at him, meaning twisting the ear of one to the point where he was crying. Ben almost burst, but he kept control. He said hello and asked her if they were twins. She turned on him. She now had some new target. She snarled at him. She said, "Are you blind? Are you stupid? Or are you both? One is 6, the other is 9. Why would you ever think they were twins?" Ben kept his cool, politely replied, "But because I can't imagine anyone sleeping with you twice." Welcome to Walmart. Have a nice day. Well, that ended Ben's Walmart career. But with just 2.5 days on the job, Ben listed 17 properties in the next 2 months, becoming Crown's top listing agent that whole quarter. Okay, so you don't want to be Walmart greeters? Just find a way to make your 10 calls a day and make sure you return them when you do. I don't know how many times we hear, you can hear your secretary, he never or she never will return my call. Return every call. How many of you knock on doors? The hated knock on doors. I know Darren and her crew did. Kay, Lynn, I'm telling you, the rest of you are afraid to knock on doors. I had a Jackson Hole realtor knock on my door in Grand Teton National Park, where there's more wolves and grizzlies than homes. What are you worried about? And by the way, when I say knock on doors, it's just a way I talk about contacting. It's so important to contact people. Let me give you another idea from 2 buddies of mine. We grew up in the real estate business together. Jim Burrows from Osawatomie, spelled with a W, like the digging badger kind of girls. Part of the story. Not like the rural America girls that we have in Ottawa. Jim Burrows was from Osawatomie, and he was a friend of mine for years. He became a sales agent for J.C. Nichols, who was working the Oak Park subdivision, and he was doing good. He had like an 80% market share. Phil Summerson was another buddy of mine. We had played football together. Him at Washburn University. He was a Washburn University Ichabod. What the devil's an Ichabod? While I was playing football for William Jewell, our Cardinals kicked his Ichabods all over the field. The Cardinals never, ever lost, and the Ichabods never, ever won. To us, I used to tell Phil this, I knew him on the football field, they were the Washburn Kick-Our-Butts, not the Washburn Ichabods. He hated that. Anyway, Burrows went to work for J.C. Nichols. Summerson stumbled around Overland Park, worked for a little company called J. Lester Brown with the old Jayhawk emblem. Some of you probably remember them. They weren't around long. Phil Summerson was their top agent. Summerson decided he wanted Oak Park too. I'm telling you, that was a tough nut to crack because Burrows had it, Summerson won it. They started a war. How many of you saw The Tin Men with Danny DeVito and Robert Dreyfuss? I'm telling you, it was that. They were at war with each other. Summerson decided he was tired of losing. After all, he was a Washburn kicker bunny. One day he decided he was going to be the Easter Bunny and hop from house to house in Oak Park. Wow, talk about deep humiliation for your real estate career. He had his mom, a seamstress, make him that bunny costume. Burroughs called me and told me what it was, and we laughed. I ruined the whole day laughing, imagining Phil Summerson, football player, in a bunny outfit. But Phil wasn't your average bunny rabbit. He was tenacious. He made sure that he timed his visits to the homes in that neighborhood when the children got home. He handed them candy and their own personal card. Can you imagine what your child would think if the Easter Bunny handed him a card? You couldn't pry it out of their hands with a crowbar. He'd get down on their level and say, "Here is your personal card. If you hear your parents talking to Jim Burroughs, you call me right away." And then he went farther. If they were little enough, he said, because Burroughs digs down and tries to hurt the Easter Bunny. I'm telling you, when Jim Burroughs would show up at the parents' house, the kids would come screaming down with the car. Phil started getting listings. It was amazing. A lot of listings. Burroughs called me one day. He wasn't laughing anymore, guys. I mean, it was funny while he was the Easter Bunny. Not only was Phil the Easter Bunny, he was the Great Pumpkin, and he was Santa Claus. He was working it, humiliating himself, and getting listings, and it was amazing. Burroughs called me one day, frustrated, totally frustrated, and said, "Gary, I want to come back to Osack and help you guys sell farms in Miami County." I said, "What's up, Jim?" He says, "I'll never forget it till the day I die. I'm getting screwed by the Easter Bunny." It's taken me the better part of 40 years to get that visual out of my mind. Finally, the two of them ended the war, and they started Summerson Burroughs Real Estate, just like Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss in that Tin Men. They started Summerson Burroughs, which is now, of course, Better Homes and Gardens, Greater Kansas City. Good guy, Phil Summerson. Good guy, Jim Burroughs. Summerson, by the way, is approaching $750 million in career sales volume. Over $500 million of it in Oak Park. Would you hop around as an Easter Bunny for that kind of volume for your family? I think all of us would. Find your way of prospecting. If it's not this, it's something else. You've got to find a way. Pick a subdivision. Pick a quadrant of a county and make it your own. Know everything that goes in that area. If something goes up on the market, know why you didn't get it. If you can actually take ownership of an area, your career will take off. But for those of you who choose Bates County or Lynn County, please don't wear the bunny outfit. You may not get out of that county alive. Other things. Call your past customers. Work your SOI. Try an open house. Do it the way Barbara teaches it. It's amazing. You may not sell that home, but you may list 2 or 3 houses in the neighborhood. It's not about selling that one. It's about multiplying your listing control. Learn the dialogues and the scripts. My gosh, when I'm renewing listings, my worst thing, you'll find out about shortly. I mean, I like to hear David Knox. I mean, if you're dealing with FSBOs, anything, David Knox has got a script and we've got it. Know the talking points. There are no tricks to listing a house. If you lose control and start stuttering, just tell them, sign here. Let's get the marketing green going. We'll get our 120 Crown agents on it and 7,500 realtors in KC working on it today. Ask not, receive not. Conversely, there's no tricks to dealing with a buyer. You know what? The first thing I ask a buyer when they walk in the office, you bring your checkbook? That's all I want to know. Did you bring your checkbook? Sounds bold, doesn't it? I want them thinking about buying, not looking. And you'd be surprised. They start scrambling around, and then you hear a whispering in the back. How much money we got in that account? That's all I want to do. Thinking about buying, not looking. How about these name tags? You see some of this wear. Darren, several, Steve, tons of them. Holt even. Don't assume people know you're in the real estate business. And I know you've been in the store and said, who is that person? I know that person. I know that person. Don't have them talking that way about you. Let them know. Gosh, she's got a name tag on. Why don't you go up and see who it is? Wear those name tags. They work. How about the license plates and the magnetic signs you see on some of these cars? What do you have to lose? I guarantee you it'll get 2 to 3 listings this year if you use those magnetic signs on your vehicle. Here's what you've got to lose without putting them on. I got 2 listings in 15 minutes at the 66 station across from the Lewisburg office from people I did not know because I had magnetic signs on my truck. Come on, I thought everybody knew I was in the real estate business. Not. This county's growing. Let them know you're in the real estate business. This is not a secret anymore. Heard a great tip the other day. Took me a while to pick it up. Practice 20 seconds of courage every day. What's the worst thing you do in the real estate business? Plan 20 seconds, just 20 seconds, think about it, and then do it before you leave the day. Mine is renewing listings. I hate that. It's almost like we failed. Will you give me another chance? Hate that. That's my 20 seconds of courage. I have 73 listings, so I'm doing that on a regular basis. But it's really interesting now. All the technology that Katie and Nick have found in their short time here, this is the best I've ever seen. It's called List Hub. If you don't know what it is, find out about it. It's like having an assistant in your pocket talking to your seller all the time. And that to me is so valuable. They send marketing results by email directly to your seller, telling them how many websites, hits, it's just amazing, the stuff that goes directly to our seller and makes it so much easier for you to talk to them. Not only renewing, but presenting an offer. I had a seller actually call me the other day and apologize to me because their home was in a price bracket that wasn't selling because of all the things we had sent them about on List Hub. It's amazing. Make sure you get that going because your sellers will love you. Our management team works hard every day to make your lives easier and your tools unbeatable. Nobody touches Crown's tools. Nobody can afford to. Learn about them. Know how to promote them and yourselves. And how about time management? I've had a lot of people say, geez, my day just gets away from me. I have no time management skills at all. And you know what they say? I'm telling you, here's a typical conversation I have with an agent that says, I don't know what happens. I come in the office, I drink some coffee, I have a couple of my buddies come in and visit with me a while, then I try and do some paperwork, but then it's lunchtime. So then, here they go. They're off to lunch with 2 or 3 more of their buddies, and they're spending an hour and a half just shooting the breeze. They get back to the office, somebody asks them a question, they try and make a call, they don't get an answer. They start the same old paperwork, and then guess what? It's time to go home. Gee, at Christmas, what did they do wrong? Would you say they forgot to talk to customers? 10 calls a day. It's real remedial. I've taken lots of agents out for lunch, but I've never listed their house yet. And you won't either. Take a prospect out to lunch. And by the way, time management. What's the best time management day of your life? Can you think of it? What day do you get the most done? There it is. The day before you go on vacation, we're scrambling around trying to anticipate what's going to happen the next week, 3 days, 5 days, whatever it is, and we get so much done on the day before vacation. Why not every Monday morning, starting this Monday, you go in with the idea that you're leaving on Tuesday? I tell you, it will work. You will get so much done. And conversely, on Thursday, pretend you're leaving. Friday for a week. You may be able to work just 2 days, Monday and Thursday, do $10 million this year. Pretend you're going out of town. I'm a pilot, so I use checklists. Sometimes I have 25, 30 things on a sheet like this when I'm going to the office. I like to check off 3 or 4 just because it makes me feel good. I sometimes, though, have distractions. I just go back to the list. Plan your work and work your plan. Don't you hate that? You said that anyway. We're all different. We all have our own way of doing things. I don't tweet, twat, bookface, linked, Facebook, sorry. Linked or liked. And I do apologize to all of you who have invited me to do so. It's just not my thing, obviously. I guess I'll just always be old school. But I see several other of my buddies in here that are just like me. By the end of the day, however, real estate is a people business. And my way, and it's always been my way, is face-to-face, voice-to-voice, belly-to-belly. You've heard me talking about it for years. Face-to-face, voice-to-voice, belly-to-belly with your clients and customers. A computer, smartphone, or tablet can never, ever do that. They cannot understand emotions. Remember Crown's 7 core values. We put people first. We do the right thing. We're courageous. We had to be coming through 40 years. By the way, when we opened Paola, there were 26 brokers in Paola. There are now 2. Crown and our good friend Kathy Minden, who we allowed to stay in business. We have fun. We never forget the basics. We believe in ourselves. By the way, best story about the basics I ever heard, and believing in yourself. Lonely old lady, 75 years old, wanted to be married. She put an ad in the local paper that read 5 basics. Husband wanted, my age group. Must not beat me, must not run around on me, must apply in person at my residence. And she couldn't think, what, I should have had a 5th thing. She said, must be good in bed. On the 2nd day of the ad, the doorbell rings. And there sits a man in a wheelchair, decorated Vietnam vet. He has no arms and no legs. She was shocked and she didn't know what to say. She asked the man, you don't really think I'll consider you. You have no arms. He smiled real big and said, nor can I beat you. She chuckled and said, but sir, you have no legs. He replied, nor can I run around on you. She snorted at that one, raised an eyebrow. She was getting tickled now. And said, but how in the world could you ever convince me that you could be good in bed? He replied, I rang the doorbell, didn't I? Personal attitude and the ability to transfer confidence to your customers. Did you get that? You have to believe in yourself. There's nothing more important in the real estate business. It's the bridge between your personal attitude, hopefully a positive one, and your ability to transfer that confidence to your customers. You need to do the other basics. You need to follow up. You need to stay in touch. You need to return calls. You need to avoid negativity. When you see someone coming into your office that looks like it's going to be a downer, snatch up the phone and pretend you're on the phone. Don't go there. You need to look the part. You need to act the part of the realtor. You need to smile. 3 years ago, we did a whole meeting on the importance of smiling. If they think you're happy, they think you're making money, they want to be close to you, you're the one they're going to hire. It's so simple. I bet I've gotten 2,000 listings just because I was smiling, including, by the way, Dale Dunmire's listings. I was the only one at the auction, and there were 14 realtors there, and I was the only one smiling, and it's meant $100 million to me in my career. How hard is that? Smile, have fun, have energy, and never quit. The seventh core value, never ever quit. The very first book I ever read when I got into real estate was about the determination to succeed. Had the story about a guy named Raymond Darby. He was a Colorado gold prospector. He worked and toiled for 3 years in an old dusty mine in central Colorado. It was on 600 acres. He finally found the vein of gold after 3 years, but it played out in a couple of days. Tired, frustrated, discouraged, he hiked down the mountain with his equipment, sold it to a junk dealer named John Gregory for $300. The equipment and the mine claim for $300. Well, Gregory the junk dealer tried to sell the equipment. Nobody was buying, nobody was finding any nuggets. So Gregory didn't have anything else to do. He marched up the mountain. And he started digging where Darby left off. 3 feet from where Darby left off. John found the largest gold mine in North America at that time in Central City, Colorado. It became known as the richest square mile on earth. Never ever quit. You could be 3 feet from the gold or 3 calls from it. I know you're all ready for the award presentation. I could stay up here and tell stories all day. You're not going to sit that long. I'm going to leave you with 4 things. Think about what you want and where you want to be this time next year. Believe in yourselves. Nothing more important than that. Dream about the things that can be and dare to make your dreams reality. Thank you.